drenched in sweat, his heart thundering like helicopter blades slicing through stormy skies. Adam Mitchell had no idea his life was about to change forever. He was just a down-on-his-luck father with a background in mechanics, riding on a corporate helicopter for what he prayed would be a new beginning. Next to him sat a poised young woman, her emerald eyes half hidden under designer sunglasses, betraying no emotion. The storm roared louder than his thoughts. When sudden engine failure threatened to send them spiraling to their doom, Adam discovered he had more strength and more secrets beside him than he ever imagined. Adam Mitchell was 36, a father of two struggling to pay bills in a cramped Denver apartment. His older son, Liam, battled a respiratory condition that devoured every paycheck. Once an army mechanic, Adam had deep expertise working on military helicopters, yet no steady job after his post-service aviation firm collapsed. Each overdue bill gnawed at him, reminding him that time was running out for his family's security. Then came an email from Skyrise Logistics, an aviation conglomerate owned by the influential Sandoval family, inviting Adam to a remote site where they tested helicopters in harsh conditions. The position promised a competitive salary, medical benefits for Liam, and a new hope. Eager yet nervous, Adam found himself on a gusty helipad outside Denver's municipal airport, duffel bag in hand, hoping for a lifeline. A poised woman stepped from a sleek SUV, her tailored attire at odds with the dusty tarmac. He would later learn her name was Aurora Sandoval. She offered Adam a polite nod before boarding the gleaming twin-engine helicopter. Adam followed, heart pounding. Their pilot, Captain Lewis, warned that a storm front loomed to the west, but insisted they had just enough time to get airborne safely. The helicopter rose, rotors thrashing the air. Adam, used to working under engine hoods, felt unsteady strapped into a passenger seat beside Aurora. She tapped on her phone, displaying no hint of fear. Adam, however, felt each jolt of turbulence as the sky darkened. Liam's face flashed in his mind, and he silently vowed to excel at this job interview so his child could have a better life. Minutes later, thunderclouds advanced, lightning flickering at their edges. A sudden gust rocked the helicopter. Captain Lewis's voice tightened over the comm system. "We're losing stable power in the right engine." A gauge flickered, indicating a frightening drop in performance. Outside, rain lashed the windshield, and the swirling wind battered the fuselage. Adam's stomach churned at the sight of flickering instrument lights. Suddenly, the right engine coughed, sputtered, and cut out. Alarms blared as the helicopter lurched downward. Aurora's stoic composure faltered. She clutched her seat with whitening knuckles. Captain Lewis fought to pull up, but the turbulent air pinned them. Lightning flashed, illuminating the cabin in a blinding burst. Adam's army training kicked in. "I'm a mechanic. Let me help," he yelled, unbuckling to scramble beneath the cockpit console. The pungent smell of singed electronics filled his nostrils. His heart pounded with adrenaline, recalling desert nights when he'd repaired damaged helicopters under enemy fire. Now, he pieced together a desperate fix, yanking out burned wires and bridging them with a salvaged cable. Sparks popped around his fingers, but he pressed on. Aurora watched, her eyes reflecting equal parts fear and awe. At last, the tail rotor regained partial functionality, its whining pitch shifting to a more stable hum. "I've got minimal control," Captain Lewis shouted. They were still losing altitude, but now the helicopter could be angled for a more controlled descent. Adam spotted towering pines through the windshield, their branches swaying in the downpour. "Brace!" Captain Lewis roared. Adam lunged back to his seat, strapping in just as the helicopter slammed into a muddy slope. Metal shrieked, and the fuselage skidded over rocks, breaking pine branches with explosive snaps. Adam's head snapped forward, every nerve screaming from the impact. Moments later, the chopper lurched to a stop. Rain pounded against the twisted remains of the helicopter, which groaned as if it might collapse. Adam's ears rang, and he tasted blood on his lip. Aurora was trembling but conscious. Captain Lewis clutched his shoulder in clear agony. Smoke curled from the console, and the stench of fuel spilled into the cabin. Despite the chaos, a wave of relief washed over Adam against all odds. They had survived. Outside, thunder boomed over rugged mountain peaks. The remote wilderness offered no promise of immediate rescue, and night crept closer. Freezing wind tore at Adam's jacket as he pried the damaged door open, helping Aurora out onto the slippery terrain. He felt the cold dread of isolation, yet also a fierce resolve. He had survived war zones before. Now he would survive this brutal crash, protect his companions, and somehow return home to give Liam the future he deserved. Blinded by sleet and buffeted by the storm, Adam spotted a faint clearing nearby. Turning back, he helped Captain Lewis stand. The pilot winced, pain etched on his face, but they had no choice. Huddling together, they searched for shelter or a way to contact help. Adam's mind raced with thoughts of Kelly and the children. He would not fail them. One step at a time, he would guide Aurora and Captain Lewis to safety, fueling himself with the desperate hope that this job, this chance at redemption, would not end in tragedy. The helicopter skidded into a slope of slushy snow near the base of a craggy cliff. Pine branches snapped and ricocheted off the fuselage. Adam grabbed onto the seat to prevent his body from being tossed around like a rag doll. Aurora clenched the armrests, her eyes squeezed shut, tension etched across her knuckles. The crash landing, while jarring, wasn't fatal. Metal screeched and the chopper spun halfway around before coming to a shuddering halt. The main rotor whirled in diminishing circles, rattling to a standstill. Then everything was quiet, except the howling wind and distant thunder. Adam's heart hammered. There was no time to reflect on how close they'd come to death. He crawled over to Aurora, who was breathing rapidly but otherwise seemed unharmed. "Ah, you okay?" he asked, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. She opened her eyes, blinking away tears she refused to let fall. I think so," she stammered, breathless. Captain Lewis let out a guttural groan, holding his shoulder. "I'm all right," he said. "Just a bruise, maybe a dislocated joint. Good job, Mitchell. You saved us from a complete nosedive." Adam exhaled, relief washing over him. Then Aurora opened the helicopter's side door, letting in a rush of frigid air mixed with sleet. "We need to see where we are," she said softly, her voice still trembling. Even though Adam could see she was scared, something in her tone commanded respect. She wasn't just the average corporate executive. A calm, unwavering backbone seemed to hold her up. Captain Lewis assessed the comms. "Radio's out. The storm must have knocked out the transmitter. We might have an emergency beacon, but the battery circuits might be damaged." Adam walked around to the tail of the helicopter, stepping gingerly on slick, muddy ground. The tail rotor was mangled, the fuselage bent, but the helicopter's shell remained mostly intact. They were lucky to be alive at all. He checked the emergency beacon. The red light was dead. He tried to wire a spare battery, but with the immediate resources, it was impossible. "We're stuck for now," he called. "Maybe we can hike out or find a vantage point for cell reception." Before he could say anything else, the storm's fury intensified. Wind whipped sideways, stinging Adam's cheeks. Sleet smacked his jacket. They needed shelter. They needed a plan. The mountains here were unforgiving, especially in a freak blizzard. "We can't just wander off in a storm," Captain Lewis warned. "We might end up lost or frozen." Aurora drew in a shaky breath. "We stay with the helicopter for the night. First thing in the morning, we figure out next steps." Her resolute tone contrasted her trembling hands. Adam realized she might outrank the pilot, or at least hold significant authority. He gave a respectful nod. I'll see if we can seal off the broken door and keep the interior warmer. He paused, looking at Aurora. You sure you're okay? She met his eyes, something unspoken flickering in hers. I'm just a little shaken. Thank you, she said, almost shyly, for saving us. Adam gave a small smile and got to work. They managed to close off the helicopter's cabin by rigging a tarp over the broken door, fastened with duct tape from the emergency kit. The interior was cramped, with 3 grown adults trying to rest in narrow seats. Captain Lewis, wincing from shoulder pain, popped a few painkillers from the first aid kit and dozed off. Outside, the storm raged mercilessly, winds howling across the mountainous terrain. The helicopter's battery was partially intact, enough to power a single overhead light in the cabin. Aurora sat across from Adam, hugging her arms. He noticed she had draped her blazer over her lap, trying to preserve the warmth of her crisp white blouse. Her hair, messy now, framed her face in dark waves. In the glow of the overhead light, Adam saw fatigue etched across her sharp features. I had no idea that flying out here would be this dangerous, she said finally, breaking the tense silence. I thought we'd land at the test site, sign some paperwork, then I'd fly home to Manhattan. Adam raised an eyebrow. You're from Manhattan? That's a long way from Denver. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. I travel a lot, she said vaguely. Then she must have sensed the sincerity in his eyes. I'm Aurora Sandoval, the first. Well, I'm in charge of certain development projects for my family's firm. We run Skyrise Logistics, among other enterprises. She paused as if weighing whether to say more. I was on my way to oversee expansions in high-altitude helicopter testing. A chill traveled through Adam. She was no ordinary manager. Skyrise Logistics was the umbrella brand he'd interviewed with. Suddenly, the magnitude of the moment washed over him. This was possibly the woman behind it all, or at least closely tied to the top brass. Well, he said, swallowing his surprise, I'm Adam Mitchell. I'm a father, husband, ex-military mechanic. I guess you know I'm hoping to work for you directly or indirectly. Aurora regarded him with renewed interest. She blinked, focusing. Yes, Miss Garrett mentioned a new recruit with an impressive resume. She didn't give a name, but I wonder if it was you. Probably, Adam said, exhaling. Truth is, I'm a little desperate. My son's medical bills are piling up. This job it's going to, fix everything. He looked away, heat rising to his cheeks, embarrassed to show vulnerability in front of this powerful stranger. A thoughtful pause. I see, Aurora replied softly. I won't pretend to understand exactly what you're going through, but I know how it feels to bear heavy responsibilities. My father built this empire, and he expects me to uphold it, even expand it. She looked down at her clasped hands, her nails impeccable even after the crash. Sometimes it's overwhelming, knowing the entire future of thousands of employees might hinge on your decisions. Adam chewed on his lip. He never imagined the privileged wealthy had sleepless nights, but Aurora's confession sounded genuine. Outside, lightning flashed and thunder rolled. The helicopter rattled. He tried to change the subject. We should try to get some rest. Tomorrow we might have to walk or climb somewhere safe. Aurora nodded. As they settled in, Adam noticed that a sliver of fear still lingered in her eyes, though she tried to hide it. In that moment, he felt a surprising compassion toward this stranger who was simultaneously so different from him, and yet just as vulnerable. They awoke to a clear, cold dawn. Thin sunlight cast jagged shadows across the snow and rock. Steam curled from their breaths as they emerged from the helicopter. The storm had passed overnight, leaving a pristine, if treacherous, mountainscape. Captain Lewis tested his arm. I can move it, he said, grimacing. It's sore, but not broken. We've got some rations in the emergency kit, enough for 2 days. Maybe 3 if we're careful. Adam climbed onto a small outcropping of rock to get a vantage. They'd crashed near the base of a mountain slope dotted with evergreen trees and jagged boulders. Downhill, about half a mile away, he spotted a winding road through the pines. If they could reach that road, perhaps they'd have a shot at finding a ranger station or a passing vehicle. Aurora's phone was still dead. She tried the helicopter's main system, but the radio was a static void. "We'll hike," Adam suggested. "Captain, you can stay here with the helicopter if you prefer. Aurora and I can search for help." Captain Lewis agreed to remain behind, especially with his injured shoulder and the need to guard the helicopter. The plan was straightforward. If they found help, they'd send rescue. If not, they'd return by nightfall. Aurora borrowed a pair of boots from the supply box, one size too big, but workable. Adam handed her a jacket from his duffel, receiving a polite thank you. Together, they set off into the icy wilderness. The trek was anything but easy. The snow grew deeper away from the crash site, and the crisp air stung their lungs. Adam led the way, forging a path downhill. Each step crunched, sinking sometimes halfway to his knee. Aurora stumbled a few times, but kept her composure, focusing on each footfall. They came upon an icy creek. Adam tested it with a branch before crossing. Aurora watched him intently. At one point, she nearly slipped on a slick patch of rock, and Adam caught her arm, steadying her. She let out a breathy laugh, relief, more than humor. "Thanks," she said quietly, brushing slush from her coat. "You've saved me twice now." Adam's cheeks warmed despite the freezing weather. "No problem. In the army, I learned how to cross streams like these." He remembered trudging through desert wadis, but the principle was the same: careful, deliberate steps. "You do all right out here for a city person." Aurora's mouth curved slightly. "I grew up mostly in New York, but my family has a ranch in Texas. I'm not entirely clueless about the outdoors, but I'm definitely no wilderness expert." They carried on. An hour later, they reached the road, only to find it empty. No tire tracks, no sign of recent plows. It was a secluded mountain route. "Should we walk along it?" Aurora asked, scanning the dense forest on both sides. "Let's try heading east," Adam decided, pointing to the direction that likely led to a main highway. "We'll keep a lookout for vehicles." They trudged along the winding road for miles, the sun climbing higher. The scenic beauty clashed with their predicament. Towering pines glistened with fresh snow, sunlight dancing on ice-crusted branches. In another circumstance, it would be breathtaking. Here, it was a grim corridor of isolation. No cars, no people, just cold air and the endless curve of a mountain road. Mid-afternoon, they spotted an old cabin set back from the road. Smoke curled from its chimney. Adam's heart leapt with hope. Perhaps a ranger's post or even a private hunting lodge. Either way, it might have a radio or at least a phone. As they approached, a figure emerged on the porch. A bearded man in a flannel shirt, wearing a weathered cowboy hat. He clutched a rifle casually, though not in immediate threat. "Howdy!" he called. His voice carried echoes of caution. "You folks lost?" Adam raised a reassuring hand. "Our helicopter crashed about 5 miles up the mountain. We've got an injured pilot. Any chance you have a phone or can help us call for rescue?" The man lowered his rifle slightly. "A chopper crash, huh? Storm was a doozy last night. I don't have a phone, landlines down. My generator's on the fritz, but I do have a satellite radio in the truck, if we can get that going." He looked them up and down. Names Todd McCready. Adam introduced himself and Aurora. McCready opened the cabin door. Warmth and the smell of wood smoke enveloped them. "Climb on in. Let's see what we can do." Inside, the cabin was rustic but well kept. A hunting trophy or two on the walls, a simple kitchen, a battered couch near the fireplace. Aurora looked around, relief visible as she thawed near the fire. MacReady rummaged in a closet, pulling out a battered satellite radio. "Darn thing's temperamental, but if it's working, we can get a rescue out." He fiddled with knobs and dials, cursing when only static came through. The device sputtered. "Might be the battery. I have a spare in the truck. Let's try that." Outside, the sky was already darkening. Night came early in the mountains. Adam followed MacReady to a beat-up old pickup truck. "Shouldn't be out in these parts without good gear," MacReady muttered. "You both lucky to be alive." He paused, scanning Adam's posture. "You ex-military?" "Army," Adam confirmed. "You?" "Did a stint in the Marines. Long time ago." MacReady nodded, a flicker of camaraderie passing between them. He dug the spare battery out of his truck's toolbox. "Your companion, that's a fancy coat she's wearing." "You two from some big company or something?" Adam hesitated. Yeah, we work in aviation. She's my boss, more or less." MacReady gave a knowing grunt, letting the subject drop. They went back inside. By then, Aurora had sipped some water MacReady provided and was warming up. She looked anxious. "Any luck?" she asked. "Not yet," Adam replied, "but we'll keep trying." They tried the satellite radio with the spare battery. At first, only static. Then, faintly, they picked up bits of a transmission. Aurora's eyes lit up. MacReady held the radio's mic close to his mouth, calling for assistance, explaining the helicopter crash. The static, choked voice on the other end confirmed receipt of the coordinates after some back and forth. They would dispatch a rescue team as soon as possible. However, it might be tomorrow morning before they could navigate the rough mountain roads. Relief flooded them. Adam pictured Captain Lewis, battered and alone in the helicopter. At least now there was a plan. They sat around MacReady's kitchen table as evening settled. The old mountain man insisted they stay the night, no sense risking the trek back in darkness. He offered them tinned soup and some venison jerky. Aurora ate quietly, probably wrestling with the day's events in her mind. Adam, too, was lost in thought. He'd saved Aurora's life and discovered she might be the heir to the empire he hoped would employ him. The day felt unreal. After dinner, they lingered by the fire, the soft glow dancing across the wooden walls. Aurora eventually broke the hush. "Adam, about that job at Skyrise. I want you to know that once we get out of here, you have my personal recommendation. You saved that helicopter, and you saved me." Adam felt his chest tighten. "I appreciate that. You have no idea how important it is for my family." She turned toward him, eyes reflecting the firelight. "I understand more than you think," she said, voice subdued. "My father, Rodrigo Sandoval, has always been close friends with Warren Buffett, the billionaire investor. They and a few others shaped me into the person I am, well-trained for business, taught to show no weakness. That's the only world I know. But seeing you risk your life, just do whatever it took to keep us all alive, that's real strength." Adam hesitated. "I just did what any decent person would do." Aurora gave a small laugh. "Maybe in your world. My world is full of hidden motives and politics, and if I'm honest, it can be lonely." A silence settled. MacReady, giving them privacy, busied himself washing dishes at the sink. The crackling fire punctuated their words. Then Aurora's gaze shifted to the flickering flames. "Adam, my father has me traveling around, scoping out new technology and forging deals." I never questioned it. But now, after today, after nearly dying, I wonder if I've been living my life on autopilot, blindly following instructions. Her voice dropped, becoming introspective. "Perhaps the first need to figure out who I am beyond Billionaire Heiress." Adam listened, empathy tugging his heart. "It's never too late," he said softly. MacReady finished the dishes and turned with a kindly grin. "You two get some shut-eye. I'll stay up a bit, stoke the fire. Rescue'll be here before you know it." That night, Adam slept on an old cot, muscles aching. Aurora slept on the couch, arms crossed over her chest. Amid the swirling uncertainties of their predicament, they both found the first peaceful rest they'd had in days. Morning arrived with the smell of coffee brewing. Macready was whistling an old tune by the time Adam rubbed the sleep from his eyes. Outside, a crisp layer of new snow blanketed the ground. Aurora was already awake, quietly sipping coffee. "Morning," she said, a bit lighter than before. "I kept expecting to hear helicopter rotors in my sleep." Adam chuckled. "Glad we're not in that broken one. Captain Lewis must be worried." Macready checked the satellite radio. A rescue team was en route in a four-wheel drive truck, hoping to meet them near the crash site. Aurora insisted they head back immediately to ensure Captain Lewis was okay. Macready offered to drive them as far as the old logging trail that led up the slope. They piled into the pickup truck, which rumbled and bounced along rutted paths. Adam gazed at the pines passing by. The fresh morning sun glinted off each snow-laden branch. Despite the danger they'd faced, he felt a strange sense of renewal. Perhaps it was the prospect of stable work or the chance that his heroic actions had impressed the powerful Aurora Sandoval. When the trail grew impassable, they disembarked. Macready stayed with the truck, rifle slung over his shoulder, ready to direct the rescue team. Adam and Aurora trekked uphill, guided by Adam's memory of the crash site. Finally, they reached the clearing. The helicopter's black hull contrasted against the white snow. Captain Lewis was outside, hugging himself for warmth. Upon seeing them, relief flooded his features. "Thank God," he breathed. "I was about to try climbing down myself." "Didn't think you two would be gone all night," Aurora immediately explained. "We found help. A rescue team is on their way with a truck that can handle this terrain." Captain Lewis nodded, exhaustion plain on his face. Adam handed him a fresh canteen of water from Macready's supplies. "We'll be out of here soon," Adam promised. Sure enough, within the hour, headlights appeared in the distance. The rescue team, two men in a large, rugged truck arrived, bringing medical supplies and communications equipment. They helped Captain Lewis into the back seat, supporting his sore arm. Aurora and Adam climbed into another seat. Soon, they were heading to a regional medical center at the foot of the mountain for checkups. In the hospital's fluorescent-lit hallway, Adam paced, waiting for the doctor to finish examining Captain Lewis. Aurora was on the phone with her father's assistant, explaining the situation. She used efficient, professional language, but when she hung up, her mask cracked slightly. She looked drained. Adam approached. "Everything all right?" She shrugged, rubbing her temples. "He's relieved we're okay, of course. He's more concerned about the helicopter, corporate liability issues, that sort of thing." Adam nodded. The realities of big business never surprised him. "Captain Lewis should be fine with some rest," he reassured her. Aurora sank onto a plastic chair, letting out a long breath. "Adam, I want to send you back home as soon as you're cleared. We'll ensure you get the job at Skyrise. The pilot, Miss Garrett, everyone will vouch for you. I'll personally see to it." Adam's heart pounded. This was the breakthrough he needed. This job would provide for Kelly, for Liam's medical bills, for the family's future. He imagined paying off their overdue debts, giving his children a safer environment. "Thank you," he said softly, overwhelmed by gratitude. "I don't know what to say." A gentle smile curved Aurora's lips. "Just say you'll meet with me to finalize your contract in the next few days, once things calm down." He nodded, then grew serious. "What about you? Are you okay?" She looked away, as if the question was more complex than a simple yes or no. "Physically, I'm all right. Emotionally, let's just say this experience reminded me how fragile everything is. Sometimes we forget that behind the power and money we're all just human, could lose it all in a second." Adam gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "It changes you facing something like that, but maybe it can be for the better." Late that evening, Adam found himself on a private flight, an airplane, this time courtesy of the Sandoval family. Aurora had arranged everything, ensuring he'd be home quickly. He felt a jolt of anticipation to see Kelly and the kids. His mind still buzzed with the surreal events of the last 2 days, the crash, the rescue, learning that the woman beside him was a billionaire heiress who wanted to hire him personally. When he landed at Denver's airport, he stepped off the plane, duffel bags slung over his shoulder. A car waited to drive him the short distance to his apartment. Before he left the terminal, though, he received a text from an unknown number. "Adam, it's Aurora. Just checking you made it safely. We'll talk soon about next steps. Please hug your kids for me. A." He couldn't help but smile. The girl he initially thought was just another executive turned out to be the billionaire Aurora Sandoval, and now she seemed almost like a friend. Kelly was at the door the instant he arrived. She flung her arms around him, tears brimming in her eyes. "I was so worried," she whispered. "The weather reports, the calls I heard there was some kind of accident." Adam held her close, inhaling the familiar scent of home. "I'm fine. Everything's fine now," he murmured. "I'll tell you the whole story, but for now, just know our life is about to get a lot better." Liam, coughing softly, ran up to hug his dad. Adam lifted him, heart brimming with love. His younger daughter, Lily, clung to his leg. He kissed them both, tears stinging at the corners of his eyes. "Daddy's home," he whispered. Over the next few days, Adam visited Aurora's Denver office, a sleek high-rise that soared above the city skyline. The receptionist welcomed him with a respectful smile, handing him a name badge. He was ushered to an executive suite near the top floor. There, Miss Garrett, who turned out to be the recruiter that had initially reached out, waited with a broad grin. "Adam, it's a pleasure," she said, offering a handshake. "I heard quite the story. Didn't know I was hiring a real-life action hero." Adam chuckled, self-conscious. "I just did what I had to." "Miss." Garrett led him into a glass-walled conference room. Aurora was there, impeccably dressed in a navy pantsuit, exuding confidence. Yet Adam detected a new warmth in her eyes. "Good morning," she said, gesturing for him to sit. "I won't waste time. We want you at Skyrise as lead mechanical engineer for our helicopter division. Salary is well above industry standard. You'll have full benefits. And, of course, we can discuss a performance bonus arrangement." Adam's pulse throbbed with excitement. This was beyond his wildest hopes. I don't know how to thank you," he stammered. She slid a folder across the table. "Thank yourself. You earned it by your skill and bravery. Once you sign, we can expedite your health benefits, and your family will be covered immediately." There was a flicker of genuine compassion in her voice. His hand shook as he signed the contract. A wave of relief and joy coursed through him. Kelly's extra shifts, Liam's medical bills, the constant worry they would all become manageable. For the first time in years, Adam felt like he could breathe again. Aurora stood, extending her hand. "Welcome to Skyrise Logistics. I hope you'll find a home here for years to come." Their eyes met. In that quiet moment, Adam recognized that beyond the professional relationship, a bond of shared experience united them. A crash in the mountains, the bravery it demanded, and the revelations it brought. Just when Adam thought the storm had passed, new problems brewed. On his first day on the job, he was called into a private meeting with Aurora. She looked tense. "We've done an internal investigation of the helicopter crash," she explained. "It's standard procedure whenever an aircraft from our fleet goes down. We discovered evidence of tampering in the control systems." Adam frowned. "Tampering? You mean sabotage?" Aurora nodded gravely. "Yes. And given some suspicious financial transactions flagged by our auditors, it appears there might be internal corruption. Someone on the inside tried to sabotage that helicopter flight." A cold chill swept through Adam. Why would anyone do that? Aurora's expression hardened, possibly to derail a business deal or to harm me personally. My family's wealth and power isn't free of enemies. This conspiracy may run deeper than we thought. Suddenly, the crash took on sinister meaning. It wasn't just a mechanical failure or a weather mishap. Someone wanted the helicopter to fall out of the sky. Adam's stomach churned. Had he inadvertently stepped into a high-stakes game? "What do we do now?" he asked, a note of concern in his voice. Aurora steepled her fingers. "I've hired private investigators. They'll search for clues among employees, supply chains, and anyone with the expertise to sabotage a twin-engine helicopter. We have to be cautious. For now, keep this information confidential." Adam swallowed, remembering the horrifying moment when the engine died. The idea that someone orchestrated that near-fatal event made his blood boil. He nodded. "Understood." Over the next week, Adam settled into his new position. Each day, he visited the hangars to inspect the new helicopters rolling off the line. He was in his element, diagnosing mechanical issues, teaching junior technicians, and implementing safety protocols. Skyrise's facilities were state-of-the-art, a dream come true for any aviation mechanic. But a quiet worry gnawed at him. Who had sabotaged Aurora's flight? And were they still in the building, maybe working side by side with him? He noticed an older technician, Jim Reynolds, who seemed unusually interested in the specifics of the crash. Another engineer, Marta Klein, turned cold whenever Aurora's name came up. Paranoia flickered in Adam's mind, suspecting others felt alien to his open nature. Meanwhile, Aurora acted her normal self in public, but behind closed doors, she updated Adam on the investigation. "We've discovered a suspicious transaction in Jim Reynolds' account," she confided. One evening, the overhead office lights reflecting on the polished conference table. He received a hefty sum from an account linked to a rival company. Adam's heart thumped. "Jim? He's been with the company for years, right?" She nodded. "We can't confront him without solid proof. My investigators want to catch all conspirators, not just a single pawn." Adam rubbed his temples. "I'll keep an eye out in the hangar. Careful," Aurora warned. "If they suspect you're onto them, they might lash out." Adam clenched his jaw. He had a family waiting for him. Yet he also felt a fierce loyalty to Aurora, who'd given him this job and whose life had been endangered. He nodded solemnly. "I'll be cautious." Late one night, Adam stayed behind to finish a safety check on a helicopter slated for a test flight in the morning. The hangar was quiet, overhead fluorescents humming softly, a slight chill in the air. He had earphones in, listening to a music playlist from his phone, trying to stay alert while scanning the newly installed electrical harnesses. He almost missed the footsteps echoing on the concrete floor. Turning, he saw Jim Reynolds approaching, his face taut with tension. "Working late, Mitchell?" Jim said, forcing a casual tone. "Just finishing up," Adam replied coolly, removing his earphones. He felt the faintest ripple of tension. Jim walked around the helicopter's nose, glancing at the wires Adam held. "You know, for a new hire, you've really climbed the ranks quickly. Must have powerful friends." Adam shrugged, feigning indifference. "I guess my background in helicopter mechanics helped." Jim's eyes flickered with something akin to bitterness. "Some of us have been here 20 years without that kind of bump." A silence stretched. Adam tried to keep calm. Was Jim fishing for a reaction? "Look, if you have any concerns, you can talk to Miss Sandoval or the HR department," he said, hoping to sound neutral. Jim's jaw tightened. "Aurora Sandoval. Right. How'd you become her golden boy so fast? I know you two were in that crash together." Adam's pulse quickened. Was Jim the saboteur? Did he believe Adam discovered something incriminating? "We survived that crash together, that's all." Jim gave a dark chuckle. "Is that so? Must have been real traumatic. Hard times, unexpected failures. Thing is, We can't always predict how machines might malfunction. His gaze bore into Adam. Adam's instincts screamed danger. If you have something to say, Jim, say it plainly. Jim scoffed. Watch yourself, Mitchell. Sometimes it's best to keep your nose out of other people's affairs. He turned sharply and left, footsteps fading down the corridor. Adam stood there, heart pounding. Now he was certain Jim was involved. He might have just delivered a veiled threat. The next morning, Adam informed Aurora of the encounter. Concern etched her features. "You think he's onto our investigation?" she asked. Adam nodded. "He definitely suspects I know something." Aurora's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. "Speak of the devil. Our investigators found proof that Jim Reynolds received money from a competitor, Helitech Innovations. They're rumored to be sabotaging our test flights to derail our expansion in the region." Adam's mind raced. Jim might not be working alone. Helitech could have other agents in the building. Aurora clenched her phone. "I'm heading to a meeting with my father's legal team. We'll figure out the next steps. Meanwhile, avoid Jim as much as you can." But destiny had other plans. That afternoon, a wave of chaos swept through the building. An alarm sounded from the main hangar. A brand new helicopter's fuel line had been tampered with, causing a dangerous leak. Technicians rushed to contain the spill. Adam grabbed a fire extinguisher and joined in the frantic effort. Fumes stung the air, and a single spark could have caused an inferno. They managed to seal the leak just in time, but the sabotage was clear. Someone was escalating their efforts. Fear gripped the staff. None of them felt safe. That evening, Aurora issued a statement to employees, promising heightened security measures. Police would be on site, and no unauthorized personnel could enter the hangar. For Adam, it was a roller coaster of emotions. Relief at having a stable job, overshadowed by the tension of sabotage lurking around every corner. Could he protect Aurora? Could he protect himself and his family? Late the next night, Aurora called Adam. Her voice trembled with urgency. "Adam, come to the executive parking garage level B3. I just got a tip that Jim might try to flee with sensitive data." Adam's heart pounded. Without hesitation, he grabbed his jacket and rushed downstairs. The building was nearly empty after hours. In the subterranean parking level, the fluorescent lights flickered, casting eerie shadows between rows of cars. Aurora stood near a sleek SUV, eyes scanning the darkness. She wore a simple black coat, her hair pulled into a tight bun. Her expression was steeled. "Where are the security guards?" Adam asked, glancing around. "They're monitoring the main entrances," Aurora replied. "We got this tip from my father's private investigators. They said he might try to escape through the basement exit." No sooner had she spoken than footsteps echoed. Jim Reynolds emerged from behind a pillar, a backpack slung over his shoulder. He froze at the sight of them. His eyes flashed with anger and fear. "Aurora, Mitchell, you shouldn't be here." Aurora raised her chin. "We know about the money you took from Helitech. I suspect you sabotaged our helicopter and tampered with the new one. Surrender now. The police are on their way." Jim's face twisted with rage. "You think you can pin everything on me? You people at the top are all the same, greedy, controlling. I just wanted my fair share." Adam took a step forward, hands up in a calming gesture. "Jim, it's over. Don't make this worse." But desperation glinted in Jim's eyes. He clutched something inside his jacket, a firearm. Aurora's breath caught. Adam's military instincts roared to life. "Don't do it, Jim," he warned, voice steady. Jim drew the weapon, aiming at Aurora with trembling hands. "Stay back. I just need to get out of here. You don't understand. They threatened me, forced me to sabotage the chopper. I did what I had to do." Aurora kept her gaze locked on him, but Adam saw fear flicker in her eyes. "We can help you," she said quietly, "but if you hurt anyone..." Jim's frustration spilled over. "Lies!" Helitech won't protect me now, and neither will you. I'm done. He started backing toward the exit door. His hand shook violently. Adam acted. In a fluid move, he dove forward, grabbing Jim's wrist. A shot rang out, echoing in the concrete structure, but it struck harmlessly into the ceiling. The recoil knocked Jim off balance. They struggled for control of the gun, the metal scraping Adam's fingers. Jim landed a punch to Adam's ribs, forcing the air from his lungs. Summoning his army training, Adam twisted Jim's wrist, loosening the gun from his grip. The weapon clattered to the ground. Aurora seized it, holding it out of reach, her eyes blazing with resolve. Furious, Jim threw a wild elbow at Adam, who ducked and countered with a punch that floored him. Sirens wailed in the distance, drawing closer. Within minutes, security guards and police officers stormed in, guns drawn. They arrested Jim, who glared at Adam with a mix of betrayal and terror. "I never meant to kill anyone," Jim muttered as they cuffed him, "but they forced my hand." Aurora stood trembling, adrenaline coursing through her. Adam placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "It's over," he whispered, taking a deep breath. "We're safe." The fallout from Jim's arrest was swift. Investigators confirmed Helitech's involvement, tying them to illicit sabotage attempts designed to undercut Skyrise's market advantage. Jim Reynolds was formally charged. Additional conspirators at Helitech faced criminal and civil suits. Meanwhile, Aurora's father, Rodrigo Sandoval, made a rare public appearance, praising his daughter and Adam for uncovering the plot. In the days that followed, Adam was hailed as a hero in the company, but he shied from the limelight, preferring to spend his free time at home with Kelly and the kids. His new salary allowed them to catch up on bills, and Liam's medical treatments proceeded without the constant shadow of debt. One afternoon, Aurora invited Adam and his family to a modest celebration at her estate just outside Denver. The house was sprawling, with landscaped gardens, sculpted hedges, and an infinity pool overlooking the city. Yet it felt warm, filled with laughing voices and a sense of relief. Aurora's typically formal demeanor softened as she bent down to greet Liam and Lily, offering them small gifts. Kelly pulled Adam aside. "She's really nice," she said, smiling. "Not what I expected from a billionaire heiress." Adam gazed at Aurora, who was kneeling to chat with Lily about her favorite animals, a sparkle of genuine affection in her eyes. "I guess near-death experiences can bring out the best in people," he said softly. Later, Aurora addressed the small gathering. "We've all been through a lot this year," she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "We faced betrayal, sabotage, and we nearly lost our lives in that storm. But from it, we also forged unbreakable bonds. Adam, your courage and skill saved me, saved us, and revealed the truth. I'm proud to have you at Skyrise Logistics, and I'm grateful for your friendship." A wave of applause rippled through the onlookers. Adam felt his cheeks flush. Kelly squeezed his hand, tears glimmering in her eyes. Finally, it seemed they had a bright future to look forward to. 2 weeks later, Aurora surprised Adam again. She invited him to accompany her to a global aviation conference in Paris, an exclusive event where only top company executives attended. "You'll be on the panel discussing cutting-edge helicopter mechanics," she explained in her office, handing him a brochure. "No one's more qualified, given all you've done." Adam's jaw dropped. He'd never left the country except for military deployments. The idea of traveling to Europe in a professional capacity stunned him. I don't know what to say," he stammered. "Thank you." "Don't mention it," Aurora replied. "Skyrise is covering all expenses, and if you need extra time to arrange care for your kids, just let me know." He smiled gratefully. Kelly insisted he go. The opportunity was too good to pass up. So, a week later, Adam found himself aboard another private flight with Aurora, bound for Paris. High above the Atlantic, the plane hummed softly, a far cry from the helicopter that once nearly cost them their lives. "I've never seen the Eiffel Tower in person," Adam confessed, gazing through the window at endless clouds. Aurora grinned. "Then we'll make sure you do. And you'll see that even though our worlds seemed so different, we can bridge them step by step." Her eyes held a sincerity that made Adam realize something important. He no longer saw Aurora merely as a wealthy employer. They had survived a harrowing ordeal together, uncovered treachery, and stood by each other's side. Their friendship was real, forged in the crucible of life and death challenges. The aviation conference in Paris was a grand affair. Industry giants displayed the latest prototypes, from hybrid engines to autonomous navigation systems. Adam spoke confidently on a panel of experts, answering questions about mechanical reliability and recounting critical insights learned from real-life helicopter incidents. His story, naturally leaving out the sabotage details, captivated the audience. Aurora watched proudly from the front row, offering him a supportive nod. On their final evening in Paris, Aurora invited Adam to join her for a quiet dinner. They dined near the Seine, city lights dancing on the water. After discussing business expansions and the future of Skyrise, Aurora fell silent, her gaze drifting to the illuminated Eiffel Tower. "Adam," she said, voice tinged with vulnerability, "when we were in that helicopter, I was sure we'd crash and die. You wouldn't let that happen. You fought for our survival. And then you helped me root out betrayal in my own company." She paused, taking a measured breath. "I guess I want you to know that what you did changed me. You showed me that not everything in life is about profit or status." Adam rested his hands on the table, sincerity shining in his eyes. "You're not the only one who changed. This job, your friendship, it's changed my family's entire world." They shared a quiet moment, the hum of Parisian life swirling around them. In the distance, a street musician played a soft melody on an accordion. The scene felt almost cinematic, a perfect reflection of how far they'd come from that terrifying storm-swept night. At last, Aurora spoke, her tone brightening. "To new horizons," she said, raising her glass of sparkling water. Adam lifted his own. "To new horizons." They clinked glasses. Far from the snow-laden mountains where fate first tested them, a struggling dad and a billionaire heiress found common ground through courage, loyalty, and a reminder that humanity binds us all. Adam Mitchell's life spiraled from desperation to redemption, all within the frame of a terrifying helicopter crash and the shocking discovery of sabotage. Through resilience, bravery, and the unexpected kindness of Aurora Sandoval, the billionaire heiress he saved, he uncovered a new destiny. Gone were the days of unpaid bills and hopeless nights. In their place, Adam found stable employment, a safer future for his family, and an alliance forged in adversity. Aurora, in turn, discovered that even in a world shaped by wealth and power, genuine human connection can spark true transformation. If you found this story inspiring, make sure to hit the like button, share it with friends who could use a reminder that hope can appear in the most perilous moments, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more uplifting edge of your seat tales. Thank you for watching. And remember, courage and kindness can change anyone's fate.